I paid my sister's bills for 18 months straight. Rent, utilities, emergencies, even some extras I pretended not to notice. I thought I was helping her through a rough patch. I thought I was being a good brother. Then I found out she and her fiancé called me their personal ATM with a keyboard. They laughed behind my back, so I didn't scream. I didn't confront them right away. I opened a spreadsheet, and when I plugged in my laptop at the next family meeting, let's just say their faces turned the same color as my PayPal history, completely drained. My name is Elias Mercer. I'm a software engineer, the middle child, the invisible one who always fixed the Wi-Fi and stayed out of the spotlight. But this time, I stepped forward, and I didn't come empty-handed. I grew up in a split-level ranch house in the suburbs of Houston, where everything looked picture-perfect from the outside. Trimmed hedges, birthday banners, holiday lights. But inside, the hierarchy was crystal clear. My older sister Delilah was the shining star. Homecoming queen, cheer captain, golden child. My younger brother Nolan was the carefree wild card who could do no wrong because he never caused any waves. And me? I was the quiet one, the middle child with straight A's and a quiet obsession with code. I fixed everyone's phones, helped Dad debug the printer, and spent weekends building small apps that nobody asked for. I wasn't a disappointment, just invisible. Which was fine. For a long time, I liked it that way. After college, I moved to Austin and clawed my way up the tech ladder. I started at $15 an hour, resetting passwords at a help desk, then scraped through a brutal coding boot camp while eating canned chili and pushing past burnout. 4 years later, I landed a senior software engineer role with a 6-figure salary and a team that respected me. It wasn't flashy, but it was mine. Meanwhile, Delilah was still chasing the image she'd had in high school. She was working as a personal trainer at one of those eucalyptus-scented gyms that charge you for vibe. Her fiancé Chase? A self-proclaimed real estate disruptor who hadn't sold a house in months but somehow always had time for brunch and branded polos. They rented a $4,000 a month house in East Austin with white shiplap walls and a backyard strung with Edison bulbs. Their Instagram was full of sushi nights, rooftop cocktails, and matching Lululemon hauls. If you only looked online, you'd think they were thriving. But I knew the truth. Or at least, I would soon. It started one Tuesday night. I was midway through a game of Apex when Delilah called me in tears. That alone was a red flag. My sister never called unless something was wrong, or she needed something. She said they were 3 months behind on rent, their water was about to be shut off, and their credit cards were maxed out. She sounded panicked, humiliated even. And I felt bad, genuinely bad. Maybe it was the old memories of her sticking up for me in middle school. Or maybe it was guilt from having more than enough while she was drowning. Either way, I wired her $2,000 that same night. She said it would only be for 2 or 3 months tops. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. The first payment felt good, like I'd done something meaningful. Delilah texted me the next morning with a string of heart emojis and a photo of their dog holding a little sign. "Thanks, Uncle Elias." I actually laughed. It felt like family, like maybe things were turning a corner. The second payment came a month later, another emergency, Chase's real estate license renewal fee, she said. "It's time sensitive," she texted. "We're about to catch a break." I hesitated for half a minute, then hit send. I even made her a budgeting spreadsheet, color-coded, optimized, and linked to a Google sheet she never opened. By month 3, the pattern was set. Delilah would send a Venmo request, sometimes with a cute caption, sometimes just a dollar amount and the emoji. It became routine. I was bankrolling their survival. Or so I thought. But then I started noticing the posts. While I was heating up meal-prepped chicken and brown rice, Delilah was posting her dinner at a new Peruvian fusion place downtown, sake flights and all. While I was holding off on upgrading my graphics card, she was showing off her Dyson Airwrap in a full makeup tutorial. Chase, meanwhile, had apparently reinvented his wardrobe. New loafers, linen blazers, monogrammed cufflinks. It looked expensive. It was expensive. And I started to do the math. They weren't just surviving. They were thriving, on my dime. I'd been cutting back on my own 401k contributions, trying to keep enough in savings just in case something happened. I downgraded my coffee habit, skipped 2 vacations, and was still holding on to my old Civic even though the AC had started wheezing. But they were sipping mimosas in marble-tiled kitchens and hashtagging hash, grind time, and hash blessed from $200 brunches. I told myself it was temporary, that Chase's big sale was just around the corner, that Delilah was just going through a rough spot. But deep down, a part of me knew. They weren't struggling, they were comfortable, with my money as their cushion. The worst part? I defended them. When my best friend Nate pointed out that I was being used, I brushed it off. They're just bad with money, I said. They need guidance. I even tried to convince myself that this was what family was for, that helping now would pay off later. But later kept slipping further away. The Venmo requests kept coming, now with less context, more urgency. One even came with the note, booking a once-in-a-lifetime Airbnb. Can you spot us till Friday? A vacation. They were asking for emergency funds for a weekend getaway. That night, I stared at my bank account and realized something cold and clear. They weren't treating me like family. They were treating me like a subscription service, with automatic deposits, and I was about to cancel. Mom's 60th birthday fell on a Sunday that felt like Texas had finally remembered it was winter. We'd rented a cozy event space in South Austin. Nothing fancy, but charming in that exposed brick and string lights way. I showed up early, like always, helping Dad test the slideshow and make sure the catering setup wasn't a disaster. It was one of those family events where everyone's half smiling, trying to play nice, pretending no one's keeping score. Delilah and Chase arrived almost an hour late. Chase pulled up in a freshly detailed BMW, leased, I later learned, and Delilah stepped out wearing a designer dress with the tags still tucked in. She looked stunning, camera-ready, too perfect for a family gathering. They breezed in like celebrities, hugged Mom, posed for photos, passed out compliments that sounded just slightly rehearsed. I kept my distance, sipping a flat beer and chatting with Nolan about his new job. It wasn't until after dinner, while clearing plates in the kitchen, that Aunt Ruth cornered me. She's my mom's older sister, the family truth-teller. No filters, no sugarcoating. If your pants didn't fit, she'd say it. If your boyfriend sucked, she'd bring a list of reasons. She pulled me aside, lowered her voice. Elias, we need to talk. It's about Delilah and Chase. I braced myself. Let me guess. Another rant about their spending? She shook her head. No, honey, worse. She'd been at a baby shower last week, sitting at the same table as Delilah and Chase. There were mimosas, loose conversations, and apparently, plenty of mockery. They were talking about you, she said, her expression tight. Joking, calling you their personal ATM, said you were too busy playing with your little computers to have a real life. My stomach dropped. They said you only gave them money because you were guilty for being a lonely tech guy, she added. That Delilah could keep you paying just by pretending to need help. I felt split, part rage, part shame. Mostly a deep kind of betrayal I couldn't explain, not just because they said it, but because I had believed the opposite. I swallowed hard. Why are you telling me this? She looked at me, really looked at me. Because you're a good man, Elias, and you deserve to know the truth. I watched them tonight, taking selfies in front of decorations you paid for, then laughing at you behind your back. I can't stay quiet about that. At that moment, through the cracked kitchen door, I could hear Delilah's laugh echoing, bright, confident, hollow. I didn't confront her, not yet, not there. I just nodded slowly and said, Thanks, Aunt Ruth. Then I walked out of the kitchen and began planning the meeting that would burn their fake little empire to the ground. The family meeting was scheduled for Sunday afternoon at my parents' house. Mom called it a conversation to clear the air, which in our family meant everyone sits awkwardly in the living room while we pretend this isn't a slow-motion explosion. But I wasn't coming to talk. I was coming to show. I arrived early with my laptop, an HDMI cable, and a folder titled Delilah and Chase. Exhibit A. Mom looked nervous as I plugged into the TV, muttering something about, "Maybe we don't need visuals." I smiled and said, "It'll help with clarity." Dad sat in his recliner, pretending to scroll his phone, but clearly watching. Nolan took a spot on the couch, grabbed popcorn from the kitchen, and whispered, "Oh, this is going to be good." Aunt Ruth was already there, calm and unreadable. Delilah and Chase walked in late, as usual. She had perfectly done hair, artfully smudged eyeliner, and an aura of someone about to spin a story. Chase wore one of his too tight polos and a watch I knew was fake because I'd seen the AliExpress listing. They froze when they saw the TV. "What is all this?" Delilah asked, her voice already laced with defense. "Just a little presentation," I said, cueing the first slide. "Since this meeting's about money, I thought we could walk through the numbers together." Slide 1. A clean timeline showing 18 months of payments, every Venmo, bank transfer, and emergency fund, mapped next to screenshots of their Instagram posts. Rent request followed by sushi dinner. Utility crisis followed by luxury spa weekend. Delilah's jaw tightened. Chase muttered, "This is taken out of context." Slide 2. Their public social media post geotagged at 5-star restaurants, boutique stores, rooftop lounges, cross-referenced with text asking for help that same week. "This," I said, "is you asking for rent on March 10th. And this is your treat-yourself brunch on March 11th, $480, including a lobster tower and bottomless mimosas. Care to explain?" Chase shifted. "That was a client meeting." I clicked again. "Date night. Doesn't scream business expense." Delilah tried to laugh it off. "You're making us look bad on purpose." "No," I said. "I'm showing the truth you already made." Slide 3. The spreadsheet. Itemized. Highlighted. Color-coded. Rent lies in red. Wellness retreats in orange. Lululemon hauls in yellow. "You built your lifestyle around my money," I said, and then mocked me for giving it. Then came the final slide. A quote from Aunt Ruth, verbatim, and a list of everything they said about me at the baby shower. Delilah went pale. "Is this true?" Mom asked, voice trembling. Delilah started to cry. Real tears this time. "You don't understand. We were stressed. We had to keep up appearances. Chase's clients. Have you even closed a deal this year?" I asked. Silence. "Did you ever plan to pay me back?" Chase stood up, indignant. "This is a hit job. You're acting like a stalker." I clicked again. "You mean because I tracked the public posts you made, while you were literally tagging your sushi rolls? Not stalking, Chase. Just paying attention." Dad finally spoke. His voice was low but firm. "Elias, keep going." For the next hour, I showed everything. Receipts, statements, a chart of their spending compared to the average American household, a map of their vacation routes. When I finally closed the laptop, no one said a word. Then Mom, holding back tears, said something I'll never forget. "I'm ashamed of both of you." That was the moment it all cracked. The fallout came faster than I expected. It was like watching a house of cards collapse in slow motion, except I was the one who pulled the bottom card. Delilah and Chase's social media presence went dark that very night. No more filtered selfies or hollow captions about grinding and manifesting. One day they were posting oat milk lattes and gym selfies, and the next, radio silence. The influencer mask cracked wide open. Within a week, the BMW Chase used to flex on his so-called clients vanished from their driveway, repossessed. Funny how leasing a luxury car without making the payments eventually catches up to you. I imagined him watching it get hauled away, while refreshing his Zillow profile like it might fix his life. The irony? My old Civic, the one they used to joke about, was still parked outside my condo, running like a champ. Then came the eviction. Turns out, they hadn't been paying full rent for months. They were skimming from the money I sent and using it to fund their curated lifestyle. $18 cocktails, custom neon signs, luxury candles with French names I couldn't pronounce. Their landlord had enough. The eviction notice went up in big red letters on their fancy black door. Their modern farmhouse aesthetic couldn't protect them from reality. Chase tried to salvage his career with a rebrand. He posted a half-hearted story about going independent, then disappeared when someone, I won't say who, shared screenshots of his fake listings and unpaid commissions with his broker. His license was suspended 2 weeks later. Now he sells pre-owned SUVs at his uncle's lot in Round Rock. No more marble countertops and drone-shot open houses, just discount financing and a paper name tag. Delilah tried to pivot. She started posting vague wellness quotes from mom and dad's guest bedroom. She held on to a few loyal fitness clients at first, but most disappeared once they realized her Equinox membership was gone, and the studio in her videos was really her teenage bedroom, complete with a cracked full-length mirror and a faded Jonas Brothers poster on the wall. Mom went through a short-lived denial phase. She called me, trying to smooth things over, suggested I could help just until they get back on their feet. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I just showed her my savings account and the spreadsheet I made the day after I cut Delilah off. She went quiet. Didn't bring it up again. Dad said less, but he started showing me his financial records, asked for advice, even admitted he wished he'd done that years ago. That meant more to me than I thought it would. And Nolan? Nolan stayed Nolan. He texted me a meme of someone sipping tea with the caption, "Tell me more." At family dinners, he'd raise an eyebrow whenever Delilah mentioned Mercury retrograde or her energy being off, and whisper, "That's 2 shots." But the real change wasn't with them. It was with me. For the first time in years, I wasn't living in reaction to someone else's chaos. My life was my own. I upgraded my PC, booked a solo trip to Tokyo, and stood at Shibuya Crossing watching the organized chaos of the world without feeling responsible for someone else's mess. I stopped apologizing for not being who they wanted me to be. I started appreciating who I already was. One gray afternoon, Delilah showed up at my door. No makeup, no filters, no theatrics. She said she was sorry, that she'd started therapy, that she finally understood how deeply she'd hurt me. She even said she'd try to pay me back. Someday. I didn't interrupt. I let her speak. Then I pulled out my phone and showed her a screenshot. A group chat with our cousins, dated just 2 weeks ago, where she'd called me a sucker and asked if anyone had ideas for getting back into the bank vault. Her face crumbled. "I don't need you to act sorry," I said. "I need you to be different. Until then, this door's closed." She didn't argue, just nodded, tears falling. Not the performative kind she used to fake, but real ones. She turned and walked away without another word. And I let her go. Because sometimes the only way to heal is to stop bleeding for people who treat your kindness like a tap they can turn on and off. It's been a few months since I unplugged from the role of the family ATM. The silence is nice. So is the clarity. For the first time in years, I'm not watching my paycheck vanish into someone else's curated chaos. I have my own routine now. Morning walks, real vacations, time to read without a Venmo buzz, breaking the peace. The down payment fund I'd once gutted to float their lifestyle is growing again, line by line, like healing in a bank ledger. I've had people ask me if I regret helping them, if I wish I'd done things differently. And the truth is, no, not entirely, because helping someone isn't the mistake. Believing they'll change when they have no reason to? That's the lesson. I don't regret the money. I regret letting it become a leash. Delilah and Chase didn't need saving. They needed consequences, and I finally gave them that. What I've learned is this: boundaries are not cruelty. Refusing to be used doesn't make you bitter, it makes you free. Family doesn't mean sacrifice without reciprocity. It means respect. And when that's gone, the kindest thing you can do is walk away. Some days I still hear from Mom. She updates me on Delilah's progress, lets me know Chase is working on himself, whatever that means. I nod. I listen. But I don't offer money or pity, just patience and distance. As for me, I'm doing fine. Better than fine. I live in a modest condo I bought with my own money. My Civic finally died, so I replaced it with another used Civic. I keep things simple, quiet, peaceful. I still build spreadsheets, still like systems, logic, structure. But now, I use those skills for me. Because sometimes the most powerful code you'll ever write is the one that rewires your boundaries. And that's a program I intend to run for the rest of my life.